It's 2:47 in the morning. One more scroll, one more video, one more message. But inside the brain, something strange is happening. Memories weaken. Focus slows down. Emotions become harder to control, because the teenage brain is still under construction, and sleep is the system keeping it stable. Adolescence is a time of dramatic transformation. But the most profound changes are happening out of sight, deep within the developing brain. This period is a critical window of neurological remodeling that shapes who they become as adults. The brain, once thought to be finished after early childhood, is a dynamic work in progress throughout the teenage years. A key part of this is synaptic pruning. Like a gardener trimming a rose bush to encourage stronger blooms, the brain eliminates weaker or unused neural connections. This makes room for more efficient, stronger pathways. At the same time, connections used frequently through learning and new experiences are strengthened. This process, called myelination, coats these active pathways with a fatty substance called myelin, which acts like insulation on a wire, allowing information to travel much faster and more efficiently. Imagine rebuilding the entire electrical grid of a major city while it's still running at full capacity. The lights have to stay on and traffic has to keep flowing. That is essentially what the teenage brain is doing every day, rewiring itself on the fly while navigating school, friendships, and the challenges of daily life. At the center of this process is the prefrontal cortex, located right behind the forehead. This is the brain's executive control center. It's responsible for sophisticated thinking like planning, weighing consequences, and managing impulses. It's what allows us to make rational decisions instead of just reacting to our emotions. But here's the crucial part. This region develops slowly. In fact, it's one of the last parts of the brain to be fully pruned and myelinated. While other parts of the brain, like those governing emotion, are firing on all cylinders, the prefrontal cortex is still under construction, fully maturing only in the mid to late 20s. This developmental gap means teenagers are operating with a brain that is incredibly powerful and capable of amazing learning. But its chief executive is not yet fully online. It's a brain that is both powerful and unfinished. Most people think of sleep as a passive state, a simple period of rest where the brain and body just shut down for the night, like flipping a switch off. We close our eyes and the world goes dark until morning. But this couldn't be further from the truth. What actually happens is far more complex and fascinating. Far from shutting down, the brain enters one of its most active and crucial periods. Think of it less like a computer powering off and more like a highly efficient night crew coming in to clean, organize, and prepare the entire system for the next day. This overnight maintenance is absolutely essential, especially for a developing teenage brain. One of the most critical tasks this night crew performs is organizing the memories and experiences from the day. Everything you learned, saw, and felt is temporarily stored in a part of the brain called the hippocampus. But this is just short-term storage, like a mental scratch pad. During deep sleep, the brain replays these memories, deciding what's important enough to keep. Key information, like what you studied for a test or a meaningful conversation, is transferred to the cortex for long-term storage. The neural connections for these memories are strengthened, making them more durable and easier to recall later. At the same time, the brain clears out trivial or unnecessary information. This process, known as synaptic pruning, is like decluttering your mind. It makes the entire neural network more efficient. Scientists call this whole process memory consolidation. So what happens when you don't get enough sleep? That vital consolidation process gets cut short. Information might enter your brain during the day, but without proper sleep, it struggles to stick. It's like writing notes and disappearing ink. The memories never get filed away properly. This is why sleep-deprived teenagers often feel forgetful and struggle to learn new things. The brain simply didn't get the chance to do its essential overnight work, making it much harder to build on the knowledge from the day before. Sleep deprivation affects attention, creativity, and reaction time. Focus becomes unstable. Problem-solving becomes slower. Even simple tasks require more mental effort. Most teenagers need around 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night, but many never get enough. Some sleep for only 5 or 6 hours. And while the body may survive on less sleep, the brain pays the price. But the impact of sleep loss isn't confined to our ability to learn or concentrate. It reaches deep into the very core of how we feel and experience the world. It fundamentally alters our emotional landscape, making us more vulnerable and reactive. Lack of sleep doesn't just affect our thinking, it profoundly affects our emotions too. To understand why, we need to look deep inside the brain, at a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. The amygdala is our emotional command center. It's the part of the brain involved in processing core feelings like fear, stress, and anger. Think of it as the brain's alarm system, constantly scanning for potential threats and triggering our fight-or-flight response. Normally, this powerful emotional center doesn't act alone. It's kept in check by the more logical, rational parts of our brain, particularly the prefrontal cortex, which acts like a calm, thoughtful manager. This manager helps us interpret situations correctly and regulate our emotional reactions, preventing the alarm from sounding unnecessarily. But when teenagers lose sleep, this delicate balance is thrown into disarray. The connection between the logical prefrontal cortex and the emotional amygdala weakens. As a result, the emotional brain becomes far more reactive, up to 60% more, according to some studies. At the same time, the rational brain becomes weaker, losing its ability to provide context and control. It's like the thoughtful manager has gone on vacation, leaving the hypersensitive alarm system in charge with no supervision. In this state, small problems can suddenly feel enormous. A missed text message might be interpreted as a major social rejection. Simple disagreements with friends or family can feel overwhelming and insurmountable. The emotional response is amplified, while the ability to think through it calmly is diminished. This is why researchers have consistently linked chronic sleep deprivation in adolescents to heightened emotional instability, increased stress, and a greater risk for mood disorders. It's not a matter of willpower, it's a matter of brain chemistry. A tired brain is an emotionally volatile brain. Modern teenagers face a challenge previous generations never experienced, an environment designed to keep them awake. Social media, streaming platforms, short-form videos, endless notifications. Every scroll gives the brain small bursts of dopamine, the chemical linked to reward and motivation. The brain begins craving stimulation, and the more sleep-deprived someone becomes, the harder it becomes to stop scrolling. But despite all of this, the teenage brain is remarkably adaptable. It can recover. Even a few nights of proper sleep can improve focus, mood, memory, and emotional balance. Because sleep is not wasted time. It is biological repair. Every night, the teenage brain asks for something simple. Time to recover. Time to grow. Time to repair itself. Because for the teenage brain, sleep is not a luxury. It's survival.